And CSLDallas is one of over almost 300, 400, I lose track, spiritual communities on the planet. And I walked into a CSL spiritual community just like this in Oakland, California in January of 2007. So over 15 years ago, never knowing what Science of Mind is and never knowing what a Center for Spiritual Living is. And so I started right where you've started. And I want everyone to hear that. I started my journey the exact same way as walking into either this spiritual community or wherever else you're connected to, or if you're online, you are connected to this spiritual community, and discovering this thing called the Science of Mind. I had set an intention for the New Year resolution to find my spiritual home, and I did. And since then, there was a voice within me that said, when I walked in the doors, I had barely gotten in the sanctuary in Oakland, and the voice within me very loudly said, "This is it. Stop wandering, get busy now." And 2 days later, I was in foundations class. So I want you to hear that is how I started this journey. And I began learning as best I could. I began understanding these principles as best I could. Some of it was so foreign to me, some of it wasn't. I was open to it because that voice was so strong. And when I did, since I didn't know any better, I believed this stuff must work because the voice said, get busy. I immediately started putting it into practice, these spiritual principles and practices, as soon as I could. And I don't know about y'all, but I fumbled and I bumbled. I was not even a toddler. I was just barely starting to walk in it, right? And what I can tell you is these spiritual principles and practices have so transformed my life, and I had a really good life before walking into that place, but I'll be damned, I have a great life now. Way beyond this person's imagination. Way beyond. So I want to share one key thing with you today. It's taken me a while to understand this. Again, I've been practicing and understanding and now teaching these spiritual principles. I will say we are so blessed that we have a master teacher in this community. And I say this all the time. I went to ministerial school in California. I got a license. I was around a lot of great now colleagues. They're awesome. But when I arrived here and I started learning from this master teacher, Dr. Peter Weldes, everything changed. I was like, wow, I didn't learn that in ministerial school. She was like, what did they teach you? Not this. Do you know that when I stepped into here, I was a minister for 3 whole months? See, many of you are so new you don't even know my journey, but I'm going to invite you to watch a couple of videos today. But 3 months, and I step into here, and guess what happened? It was like, well, I'll teach foundations class. Okay, we have other classes named. That's basically that content, but it's sort of your starting point in this. And I said, well, hey, I'll teach foundations class. I'd never taught it before. And 66 people signed up. It was a record and still is for this community that's 55 years old. And I went, what do I do now? And she helped me, this master teacher. So back to this key thing that I want to share with you. And this was later in my journey of Science of Mind and practicing Science of Mind. But over these past less than 5 years, it's gotten really strong, and now I'm using this. No, actually, that's not true. It had to have been slightly over 8 years. My space-time continuum is not real settled today, and that's usually Petra that has the issue with that. So over 8 years, because it started a little over 8 years ago. Here's the key. Most people that I know, where they're in this faith philosophy way of life and they're ready to manifest the greatness in their life, and they're affirming and they're declaring and they're claiming, because that eventually happens. It's not like affirming, it's actually claiming, demanding, you know. This is what I want, but this is the how that it must be. Most people focus on the how, and what I'm going to tell you is don't. Let the how go. Where I want you to focus on from this point on is you got to get clear on the what. What is it? The what of your life. And here was the thing that started this entire journey that actually landed me in Dallas, the place that I said I'd never move back to. Dr. Ken Gordon, our previous spiritual leader for Centers for Spiritual Living, on the day I was actually to be licensed at Asilomar in that meadow in 2013 in the summer, I was like flip-flopping between, well, I got to start my own ministry, that's a how. Or I know my minister in Oakland's about to retire, I could just be the senior minister there, right? That's a how, and both of those are form. And he said, if you let go of form, what do you want? And I went, I don't know. Form. You know, and I have to tell you, it took me a month to get to that, and it was hard, and it was not pleasant. But I got to the form, the no form of what I wanted, and that was, I want to do ministry full-time and thrive while doing it. There's no form in there. I just want to do ministry full-time and thrive while doing it. And it wasn't, it wasn't very long after that. It was a little less than 90 days. It was 60 days because it took me 30 days to see, I told you, doesn't matter. And it wasn't very long, and my whole life blew up. I ended an 11-year relationship. I sold my dream home that I was going to die in the hills of California. I split up my 2 kitty cats that I loved. I had $7,000 in the bank, which in the Bay Area, you might as well say $7. I hadn't worked for 3.5 years because I had decided to not work. I left a 23-year wildly successful career to go into ministerial school, and here I was, and everything blew up. And many of you know the first call I made, because I knew her in leadership and I respected Petra, and I knew I had the business acumen, but I didn't know how to put my ministerial all of 90 days on a resume. And I said, can you help me? And she said, why? And I told her why. My whole life blew up. Now I'm going to candidate for whatever community I want in the country because I'm selling my house. And she said, give me 2 weeks, because she was looking for a partner in ministry, and that's what brought me here. I let go of form. So I got here, and what some of you don't know, and some of you were here with this, you may not know, but there is a talk on our YouTube channel. Go to Unexpected Blessing. Diagnosis of breast cancer. I was 7 months into my ministry here, like really ready to just go, boom, and I got diagnosed with breast cancer, and it was like, oh my goodness. And I got to tell you, it was one of the greatest blessings of my life, because in that journey, I asked, what is my gift here? When something comes up that doesn't look or smell or act like a blessing, but you hold it like there must be a blessing here. I said, what is my blessing? And it was, this is showing you, you have not fully loved and accepted yourself, and it's time to do it now. And so I spent that journey with breast cancer in this community, and I announced it to the community that day in September 2014, and it was amazing. And I forgave myself. I learned to love myself wholeheartedly. I was in no relationship because I just ended that 11-year, right? And I just focused on me. No one else. Did I have to consider my decisions of my own body, what someone would think? Nothing. It was just me with me. And I know and I believe that because I fully embraced and loved myself in an intimate relationship with me, I know that that's what brought my second unexpected blessing. We were on a spirit tour trip in Sedona, Arizona, with people from this community in the Vortex. And I remember precisely at the start of that trip, we were all gathered, and Peter said, "Now listen, we're in the Vortex and some crazy things can happen here. You can even fall in love." And she married 2 people that morning by a river. I took the photographs for that couple on Mother's Day, and that afternoon, as everybody had left town and I just wanted to hang out a little bit, and she said, "I'll hang out too." We're on a rock in the middle of a riverbed watching the water go by, and all of a sudden something came out of my mouth I didn't think of. I said, "You know, I think we have more than a work relationship here." And she said, "Yeah, me too." And I leaned over and kissed her, and that was it. And so unexpected blessing part 2 is that we told the community that we had fallen in love. And at 49, I fully came out as gay. Took 49 years for me to be comfortable with that, even living in Berkeley, California, folks, and to be comfortable within me to say that I'm gay, but by the way, I fell in love with a woman in Dallas, freaking Texas, and she happens to be a minister in my own community. How's that, folks? For coming out. And I was like, wow. So I did my work to fully embrace that part of me as well. So as I was comfortable within, guess what happened? The community was comfortable without. I cannot tell you all how grateful I am for that blessing that you welcomed us both. We only lost 4 or 5 people. That's pretty good. And we got married right here on this platform, September 9, 5 years ago. It was the best party ever, right? Standing room only. September is a big month for me, it seems. We figured out that we both loved to travel, and we started traveling together, and we went to the Galapagos Island in 2016. We went to Colmar, France, and we went to the Great Bear Rainforest, and we went to other places with friends and all, Italy, all kinds of places, but we loved to travel, and I did, and she does, and I had been in relationships that wasn't a big thing. And so something really got ignited, and through the travel, especially starting at the Galapagos Island, where someone in this community gifted me a lens. I started realizing that I really love taking pictures of wildlife. Blue-footed boobies, they're pretty cool. And that started to grow. And what happened was wildlife photography started to be lit up in my life, and it's truly become a real big calling for me over these past 2 years, especially with the pandemic, because I couldn't go anywhere. And it became my spiritual practice, because what it does is I slow down and I be still and I connect with life and I watch a bird for 2 hours, and it's just amazing. And Peter's been watching this over the past couple of years. So a year ago on my birthday, things happen on my birthday, 8/18, I'm a Leo, and it's like this big thing. And a year ago on my birthday, we were in a restaurant celebrating me, and she had a really tough conversation come my way, unexpectedly. I didn't see this one coming. And she said, "I've been watching you for the past year. and you light up with your wildlife photography. You have no problem getting up at 4 a.m., way before the sunrise, and going out and doing this. And I see this. This is a calling. This is really big, and you're not answering this calling. And she said last week she's good at putting her foot in people's back, and mine too. I'll help pull you, and she's going to do that, right, in a loving way. And so she put that foot in my back, and she said, you need to go for this, because if you don't, are you going to have regret? And I said, yes, I'll have regret. And so I was trying to figure out, okay, well, this really feeds me, so does ministry. How do I combine wildlife photography and ministry? I don't know how. But I knew the what. I wanted to do that somehow. And it especially became really big that this would be an even bigger regret after my father died last year. I'm like, I really have to go for this. So after she put her foot in my back and I was really scared, I came back to the community to talk to the core council. I would like to invite the core council to come up, please. Some members are different, but some are the same. So I came back last year after we went on vacation in August. Love these people. These is, along with the other leadership in our community, this is incredible leadership for our organization here. And I came back from vacation and I talked with the core council and I talked about this calling, and as a full-time minister, 80 plus hours a week, there's really not space for me to do wildlife photography. And I said, I got to go for this. I don't want to have a regret. And come 2023, so that's next year, I want to go half-time. I want to be able to create space to be able to go after this passion and do that. And they were like very supportive. And they're like, okay, well, you know, we can work this out and maybe that'll make some room so another minister we'd start getting some bench strength. And, you know, we talked about it and it was like, okay, great. So we had this plan next year, half-time, right? And I had this what, right? I was clear on the what. I want to be able to do ministry, wildlife photography, and travel internationally. Because those are sort of my three loves. Ministry, and all the various ways that that shows up in this community and beyond. Wildlife photography, and getting to see through the lens of love, and sacred travel. So, because I was clear on the what and I declared it, this summer an unexpected blessing came up. Conversations have been taking place with Petra and then me for several years about taking over spirit tours when Jim Kramer, the founder of this amazing company, when he gets ready to retire. Maybe it would be us. And none of those conversations went anywhere, except for early this summer. And Jim called me and he said, and now Spirit Tours, for those of you who don't know, is they lead sacred guided tours for groups of people in New Thought to world destinations, and the focus is on spiritual experiences, connections, and being a positive force for good while traveling. Not going on vacation, really connecting with one another, spiritual leaders, and being a positive force for good. And he had witnessed Petra leading groups here at CSLDallas. Many of you have gone on these trips for over 10 years, and now me for over 8 years, and how we do this. And he's like, y'all are just doing this different than anybody else, meaning ministers, other colleagues. And he said, you know, if I'm going to pass my baby on that I've grown for 20 years to anyone, I really want it to be you two. And I'm like, wow, okay, well, let's see if we can negotiate this. And Jim and I got to negotiating it in so much way that it worked for him, and it especially worked for us, that it was like the universe was saying, hello, hello, here's your what. And I said, I receive it. And we are the official owners of Spirit Tours. I really appreciate that very much. And so I couldn't pass up the blessing. Peter couldn't either for somewhere down the road. I'll talk about that in a second. And it feels more compatible now with the transformation that I've had in my life, thanks to this community for 8 years, that it feels more compatible for me to do ministry through Spirit Tours, be the spiritual director for Spirit Tours, and my photography. So I get to travel with people I know and love and lead spiritual trips and help other people lead spiritual trips and all of that, so more people can have this experience. And while I'm there, afterwards, I get to have my camera in Peru and Bali and South Africa. You see what's happening? Wow. And so, yeah, this summer, this is the biggest manifestation next to Peter Weldis that I've had. So this summer, she put her foot in my back again, because for 2 years I've been talking about a wildlife photography website. And I still don't have it completed, but she said, you're going to hire someone. So I did, through Fiverr, a woman in Nairobi. She was incredible. In 10 days, she whipped up a website for me. So I am so excited. Look what has happened. I have weaved and intertwined the three things into that magic spot, right? Of all three things, it's happened. I cannot tell you how excited I am at this. So what I want to share with you, and it's happening faster than we anticipated, and they anticipated, and certainly you anticipated, because of the pent-up demand for people to want to travel. And especially if they're single, they want to travel with people they know and love and know they can be safe with and cared for, and people that are couples, and then the couples that are friends, they want to travel together and all that, right? We've had 10 years of this here. And so I'm officially resigning my position as co-spiritual director in this beloved community of mine come the end of October. Yeah, I know. Now let me be very clear about a few things. People say this all the time, but I want you to feel me. I mean this. I promise. I promise to stay closely connected to this community. I've asked to continue to have a letter of call here. I don't need it, I'm ordained, but I want one. Right? It's going to free up some budget, which we need to right now. We already freed up budget on my salary at the beginning of this year. We freed up more budget at the 1st of September. And now at the end of October, we're freeing up more budget for this community, because I always want this community to thrive. So I'm taking the leap of faith and know that the universe catches me. And so I've asked for a letter of call, so I will continue to speak here, do workshops, lead fire walks, and be here whenever I'm in town. I am forever going to be a part of this community. And I promised Peter when I came here 8 years ago, it was never a stepping stone, and I would never be a minister in another community. I've kept that promise, right? And I want to make it clear that Petra isn't going anywhere. Y'all got a longer runway with her, because of the staff and the leadership and the practitioners and all the people. And it is bittersweet for me. It's bittersweet for her, because we're, in this co-minister, we're releasing that, right? But look how beautiful this is. She was so gracious. Someone with over 30 years experience, asking someone with 3 months experience. Listen, folks, nothing is limited in your life unless you put the limit on it. And so she invited me into her existing ministry, and I've learned so much and grown so much. And so now I want to be clear, she's not focusing on Spirit Tours at all. I am. So I'm Spirit Tours 2.0. I'm birthing that and growing that, and somewhere down the road, years down the road, she will release 2. Right? And then she comes into an existing minister and we become co-spiritual directors of Spirit Tours. Isn't like super cool? This is so bittersweet for me. I love you all so much. This community, it is the one community on this planet that gives me hope for humanity. When I get down in the dumps and in despair, I think of this place right here. If we can create that world that works for all of us right here and each of us right here, we can do it anywhere. It's totally transformed my life over the past 8 years. The leadership is second to none throughout the 8 years I've been here. The core councils I've gotten to work with, our other cores, the practitioner cores, watching that bloom, the staff, and every single person that's come and gone here. Our generous givers, without our generous givers, we wouldn't be here today. We would have not made it through this pandemic. And our volunteers. Boy, do we have a small staff compared to the bigness of this community. And our volunteers are the ones who take that up. And I, especially in this moment, want to say I have by far the best partner in ministry and in life I could ever imagine. And you have given me the greatest blessing of supporting me in this and being my biggest fan. So here's the other key thing I want you to know. I said this to myself right before my life blew up in 2013, and I ended that partnership of 11 years. It was a good partnership, but I was telling people around me, you can have it all, you can have it all, you can have it all, but I didn't believe I could. And so I finally know I can have it all. And the second thing that I say a lot is don't let your good get in the way of your great. And I'm going for my great. And I promise you this, I've started everywhere everybody else starts. If I can do this, so can you. So go get your great, and I will be here to pull you along, and she will be here to put her foot in your back, and so it is.